Good evening, YouTubers. Reloading Bench back with you once again. And my bench looks more like other project stuff than it does. These are brushes. Other projects for non-reloading. But we'll diverge a little bit to in and out of reloading. And the reason I'm making this video is because I still don't know if I'm going to piece all these together. I'm in the process of not restoring, I'll say reconditioning an old saw. So as I was building my ransom rest, the base for the ransom rest, my old Craftsman, lots of aluminum on that saw. The rip fence just wasn't holding straight anymore. I don't care how tight I made it. I just couldn't get a good straight line. And I thought, you know what, it's time to retire that. So I went and looked online for a new saw and was shocked at what a saw costs. You know, with a mobile stand and a small 10-inch table saw, you're looking at like $600, like for a DeWalt. So I went on Craigslist and I found an old Craftsman saw from 1973 that is made like a tank, steel, not aluminum, cast iron plate, but it was rusty as all hell. So I've been, and you'll see, you know, these are what I would call extremely clean compared to other ones that I pulled off the saw and reconditioned. And this is the, I can't remember what this thing's called, the kickback plate or whatever. And, you know, again, this isn't too bad compared to the other parts of the saw. So I've been doing a lot of cleaning, WD-40ing, trying to de-rust. And you've seen my previous videos with what I think is awesome, Crud Cutter, the must for rust. The only problem is this is 8 ounces. And when I'm doing a little capful at a time, it works great. This stuff stinks. And you're supposed to wear all these gloves and it can remove paint and you're not supposed to get it on your skin. Whereas I did a little more research. I think it was Project Farm that I found this from. And he rated Evapo-Rust kind of a strong second. And because you can use it on cookware, where I don't believe you should be using Crud Cutter on cookware. The problem with Crud Cutter, the Rust version of Crud Cutter, is it's expensive and you don't get a lot. And around me, it's not available. Even online, it's quite expensive. Whereas this is like, you know, a third the cost. And it was, I think, $19 for a gallon. It's just safe, simple, and effective, environmentally friendly, according to all the safe on skin and eyes. Supposedly doesn't remove paint. So we're going to try. I've been doing a lot of small screws, nuts, and bolts with the Crud Cutter, and I would let them set, you know, 8 o'clock at night till 8 in the morning. So we're going to run the same type of experiment with Evapo-Rust. So we're going to do a little set of nuts and bolts, but the miter guide, I took it all apart, and I'm going to let this soak overnight. This one I might sand down and then re-blue. This one I'm going to put in the same package, same bath. So the idea is to put it in a box, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Put it in a cardboard box, line it with a bag, and then pour enough in to cover it, and then see how that goes. So I'll be back in a few minutes. Looks like I could be on an episode of Forensic Files. So here's my box. I left the flaps on it because I stole a box from another part of the house that needs to go back to the other part of the house. But it will be what I would hope to be sufficient for what I'm trying to do with my pieces. So we will put this piece rust side down. And then we will put this piece shittiest side down as well. So the less rusty side will be on top. So that's what it's going to look like in our bath. And now we will pour. I wish I was not having to use so darn much, but that is why we bought a gallon of it. Let's see if it stinks like the other stuff. So far, no. Looks like water. And it looks like I'm going to use quite a bit of it to cover. Well, isn't that special? Alright, so we are a gallon in, and because of, and since it's supposedly safe for hands, I'm going to put my hands in it. I don't smell anything. Doesn't smell like a corrosive type of material or liquid like this stuff does. So I'm always with gloves and paranoid about that. And I'll set this on the floor because in case there's a leak, I don't need it all over my bench. It is reusable, and they say reuse it until it doesn't work. So the fact that I poured the whole gallon in means we'll be doing a whole lot of reusability. I don't know how I'm going to get it back in the gallon jug, but that's another problem to figure out. And I was trying to do a similar comparison with nuts and bolts. So it's somewhere here on my bench, that little thing of bolts. I'll find it when I'm off camera. And I will probably submerge that little cup in here as well, since there's plenty of room. And that will be my my baseline for nuts and bolts. So back tomorrow to see how, and obviously I don't expect Evapo-Rust to do a good job on the top of this because it's not covered. So won't hold that against Evapo-Rust. So we'll see what happens. Back tomorrow. So this wonderful thing is called the Saw Guard Assembly. And the paint was not eaten off, or whatever this coating is. This, because this isn't bluing. But that came out beautiful. In fact, I just dried it off, and now I'm going to give it a little WD-40. For those of you who don't know what WD-40 stands for, it stands for water displacement. I don't know that I would call it an anti-rust or rust inhibitor. I'm so tired of dropping shit. Alright, so I took this out. This probably had, I'd say 12 hours of soaking. And more than happy with how it came out. And you probably don't need to watch me hold this down. But just get something on the metal so that it's not so raw. All right, like I said, that came out great compared to what it was. Good day, YouTubers. Evapo-Rust results. So a number of parts came out great. There were a couple of sets. I was a little disappointed in, what's funny is these nuts still rusty, but then this one, I don't know, maybe it's a different material, but it feels, maybe this is aluminum. These came out great. In fact, here's a good example of you know, how rust-free something came out. I decided to blue because this piece is, you'll see when I put it back together, this piece right here faces the user. So it looked like this, and I re-blued just the end, and now I'm letting it soak in oil so it doesn't rust. But these all came out pretty good. I'm loving the fact that I can put my hands in this stuff. There's no smell. You know, just kind of the opposite in terms of fear factor for any accident with crud cutter. And this came out, so I had to lay this. I want to say this was down. This was the, I can't remember which side was down and which was up. But the bottom came out absolutely beautiful. I'll have to go back and look in the video to see what the condition was, and the top had just a touch of rust still on it, so I'm wondering if something was sitting on top of that. So I may re-soak this because I love the way this came out. In fact, with this being the bottom, this was my biggest concern because sliding this way, nothing really touches that, so that's a non-issue. But the bottom came out absolutely beautiful. Maybe I'll lay it on its side and let it soak some more. But I'm still in the middle of one large piece. The I don't know what that giant piece is called, but let me grab a piece that is still soaking so you can get a flavor of how nice it came out. And this is one of the guides for the fence. It goes on one of the wings. So my thought was, I was leaving it in a little longer, just to let, you can see, just to let that soak some more. But you know, compared to what it was, and I'll show you the existing fence. So you can see exactly what it looked like, because it was identical to this. So to go from that to that overnight is good stuff. But it does look like it removes the bluing, which is a little bit of a bummer because in all my readings it says it doesn't affect paint. But I guess bluing is considered different. All in all, still a positive because this would as well. So re-bluing is not an issue, as you can tell. So I will probably re-blue this and use this as my test. Let this soak a little more once the big piece is out, because the big piece occupies too much of the box, as you can see from yesterday. But quite satisfied with the cost and effectiveness for a 12-hour soak. More later. So I decided to go with an industrial solution to replace the wheel configuration that was previously on here. And this is the WEN, W-E-N solution. And this is the tightest I could get. In fact, I reused the old bolt. I don't know if you can see that, which holds that in. The old bolts that were part of the original solution. I'll have to obviously retighten that. I think I need to put a washer in there. But this will allow movement, and then you just pop those down and And then on this floor it's a little slippery, but on the driveway that'll be a lockdown solution. So it allows me to have mobility to move in and out of the garage. And this is the front. Mobility to move in and out of the garage without having to worry about the old solution. So that is the base